Continuing on with our lecture here, so this slide here now shows us the difference between fast twitch and a slow twitch muscle fiber. So what do you mean by fast twitch and a slow twitch muscle fiber? So when we're talking about fast twitch fibers, okay, they rely on creatine phosphate pathway and fermentation, meaning these muscles do not require oxygen in order for it to contract, right? And what are they designed for specifically? They are now designed for strength. Okay? Motor units contain many fibers which provides explosion of energy. So here is an example of fast twitch fibers. So as you can see here, they're actually colored white, right? So you have these colored white muscle fibers right over here, and then you have these dark ones right over here as well. So you can see both of them, right? So what is this all about? So when we're talking about fast twitch muscle fibers here, they are going to be aerobic, has explosive power, just like this individual trying to lift this weight right over here. Not only these people who are trying to lift weights, but also sprinters, right? They need that explosive power. Sprinters like like Usain Bolt, for example, right? The fastest man ever recorded, right? So, however, the problem here is since there is no oxygen, right? There is no oxygen here being used by these muscles, they are now going to fatigue easily. Okay, so that's the problem with these muscles here. So explosive power, but they fatigue easily. Those, or in other words, they get tired easily. So they are most helpful in sports like sprinting, as I mentioned previously, and your weightlifting right over here. Light in color because they have fewer mitochondria. They have little myoglobin and fewer blood vessels. All these right here, these are the one that will make or that will allow a darker color. The more present they are in the muscle, the darker the color of the muscle is going to be. They are going to develop maximum tension faster than slow twitch fibers, and maximum tension is going to be greater also compared to the slow twitch fibers. Dependence on anaerobic energy leaves them vulnerable once again to accumulate lactate, which causes them to fatigue easily. So lactate over here. So here, a term when you probably go and work out at the gym is no pain, no gain, right? So like this person over here, when they're trying to lift weights, and then let's say your coach is no pain, no gain. No, it's not necessarily no pain, no gain, because the pain that you are now going to be experiencing is the accumulation of lactate in your muscle. So all you have to do is get rid of the lactate. And how are you going to get rid of the lactate? Basically, breathe more oxygen in. So that's what happens there. So that's what we have here. So next time that they tell you like no pain, no gain, just tell them, no, I just have too much lactate on my muscles right now. Okay. So that is your fast twitch right over here. So again, as you can see, they are lighter in color. You compare that to a slow twitch muscle fiber, which is on our next slide over here. So here is now the slow twitch muscle fiber. These are now the darker ones. So here, right over here. So these are now the darker ones right over here. So slow twitch fibers tend to prefer cellular respiration. So the third one, which is the aerobic respiration. Motor units here will have fewer muscle fibers. They can store more stamina, or they actually have more stamina, okay? Which is going to be now helpful in endurance sports like long distance running, swimming, for example, right? Biking, jogging. So those are going to be where these muscle fibers are going to be very effective. They produce most of their energy aerobically, as I mentioned previously, right? They tire only when the fuel supply is gone, meaning no more sugar in the bloodstream. So now they get tired. If you continuously supply the sugar, you continuously supply the oxygen, then these muscles can go on for a very long time. So I'm pretty sure you have seen those ultramarathon runners, right? So they basically what? They run for like 100 miles and so on and so forth. So that's what this is right over here. They have many mitochondria, which is needed to produce ATP, right? Dark in color because they contain myoglobin. That's why over here. They have dense capillary beds, which is going to draw more blood and oxygen than fast twitch fibers. Tension develops slowly, right here. Okay. However, they are going to be highly resistant to fatigue. Okay. Have a reserved glycogen and fat, so their mitochondrion can maintain a steady, prolonged production of ATP when oxygen is available. So that is the difference between those two. So here is another analogy that I like to use here. So if you go to KFC, for example, okay, you don't like KFC, let's go to, what's that one? Popeyes, right? So if you go to Popeyes, for example, and then sometimes when you go to the register and then you order your food, they would ask you dark meat or white meat. This is what they're referring to, right? So this is your dark meat right there. This is your white meat right over here, right? So that is the difference right there. And also, if you think about it, the parts where the dark meat and the white meat is located in chicken breast, white meat, right? And also the thighs would be the dark meat area, which is used for walking a lot, right? And for the breast, for example, that's the one that is used for flapping their wings, but they don't fly very long time, right? So that is the difference between your fast twitch and your slow twitch muscle fibers right there. All right, our next slide over here. So these are now common muscular conditions. So what do you mean by common muscular conditions? So this is what happens to the muscles when they get fatigued or when they get damaged, right? So what do I mean by that? So spasms, I'm pretty sure you have experienced spasms before. If not all of you, some of you might have. So what is spasms here? These are the sudden involuntary muscle contraction, which is accompanied by pain, right? So similar to cramps, but not cramps. We'll see the cramps right here in a minute. So can occur in smooth and skeletal muscles, your spasm, convulsions, multiple spasms of your skeletal muscles. So when a person is convulsing, right, that means that there is a multiple contraction of the skeletal muscles uncontrollably, right? So that's what's happening with spasms over here. Remember, spasm is a sudden involuntary. You have no control over these contractions over here, even though it is the skeletal muscles. So the next one over here is cramps. So what is cramps? Strong, painful spasms due to strenuous activity. So if you have ever experienced cramps before, and usually cramps occur in the gastrocnemius, more commonly in the lower extremities, it is very, very painful, right? So strong, painful spasms due to strenuous activity right over here. So basically that gastrocnemius is going to be contracting very, very hard, right? Leading to this painful experience right there. Facial tics, another form of spasms here, right? In the face now. This can be controlled voluntarily, but only with great effort. So more often than not, it cannot be controlled, but it may or it can be controlled voluntarily with great effort. Here are the two terminologies that sometimes people use interchangeably, but they mean different. What do you mean by that? Strain versus sprain. So when you say strain over here, this is stretching or tearing of the muscle. Strain. Compare it to sprain, which is twisting a joint, right? So chances are, let's say when you twist your ankle, for example, right, that is going to be a sprain, not a strain. Strain refers to muscle. Sprain refers to joints. Okay? So when a person sprain their joint in the body, this could lead to now swelling and injury of muscles, ligaments, tendons, blood vessels, and nerves. So more damage can occur in sprain. Strain, muscle. Sprain, more damage to other parts of the joints. Tendinitis. So once again, anything that ends in itis, it's some form of inflammation. And when you say tendinitis, this is now inflammation of the tendon. Not good as well, because it may irritate the bursa underlying the tendon, causing now again another form of inflammation, which is now your bursitis, inflamed bursa. Alright, so those are some common muscular conditions. Next slide here. So when we talk about the muscles, it's very difficult not to talk about the skeletal muscles as well, because the muscular and the skeletal system will work together to produce a movement. Right? So skeletal muscles will contract and pull on the bones, causing movement at the joints. So please try to recall this when we talk about the skeletal system. They are going to allow us to respond to changes in the environment. So of all the system in the body, remember all the different system in the bodies, only the muscular system can manipulate the environment. Okay, so that's why allows us to respond to changes in the environment. Okay, contraction of skeletal muscles right here allows us to chew and to swallow, right? So muscles of mastication, for example, this is going to allows us to chew our food, swallowing as well. Rhythmic smooth muscle contractions move the food through the digestive tract. This is known as your peristalsis. Okay, peristalsis. So basically, the peristalsis. Okay, so basically, this is what's happening here. If this is a tube right here in our GI tract, right, and now you have the food right over here. Okay, so this is where the food is. So what's going to happen is, as this smooth muscle contract, it is going to push this food this way, right? So now you have something like this. So now you have the food is now actually moving down right here. So this is known as your peristalsis. This is in order for the food to be able to move through the GI tract. Beating of the heart propels the blood into the blood vessels. And we mentioned this one before already as well. Contraction of the skeletal muscles push blood towards the heart as well. Okay. Also helps squeeze interstitial fluid in the lymphatic capillary. So every time that your muscles contract, you are squeezing the blood vessels so that you are pushing the blood towards the heart. So for example, this is the heart right over here, and you have the muscle, your skeletal muscle right over here, and you have a blood vessel, your vein right over here. So every time that this muscle contract right over here, it will also contract or squeeze this blood vessel here. Now the blood flow is going to be pushed towards the heart. Okay, so that's what's happening over here. Both systems protect the body parts as well. Brain, heart, lungs, spinal cord, kidneys, and so on are protected by your skeleton. You know that already. We talk about this from the when we discuss the skeletal system. Skeletal muscles, what does it do? It pads and protect the bones. Right? Muscles of the abdominal wall protect the internal organs as well. So skeletal muscles pad and protects the bone. So a part of the bone that is exposed, for example, is your shin bone, right? There is no muscle there. So every time that you would hit your shin bone, it hurts a lot, right? So the skeletal muscle will now protect the bones in our body by padding them. Abdominal wall muscles protect the internal organs as well. Next slide here. So this is muscular system and homeostasis. We've talked about homeostasis already before, so I'm not going to discuss this too much, but specifically the muscular system only. This part right here, this is our concentration. Okay, so muscular system works with the skeletal system to allow movement and support, protection for internal organs, muscle contractions, provides heat to warm the body, right? Bones play a role in calcium balance, and these systems specifically help other systems as also mentioned. So that is what we have right over here. So muscular system, I just want to mention here, every time that the muscle contracts, it produces heat, and this heat production is now going to maintain our temperature in normal homeostasis. All right, so that is your homeostasis here. Continue to the next slide over here. This now helps the body temperature. So what do we mean by that? So the muscular system will regulate your body temperature. How so? When cold, the smooth muscle constricts, right, inside the blood vessels supplying the skin. This is now going to conserve the heat. So what do you mean by that? So this is the surface of your skin, for example, right? And this is the blood vessel right over here. And normally, of course, we have blood flowing here. And as the blood flows through the blood vessels, now heat can be lost, can be transferred, and ultimately can be lost into the environment. So that's what we have right over here. So what happens when it's cold outside? Now these blood vessels over here, so let's go and create another one here. So this is now your skin, the blood vessels. So originally, if they were this diameter right over here, now what happens is they're going to constrict. So rather than having this diameter right over here, now they're going to be smaller. Okay, so now this is your constricted right over here. Now the blood flow at the same time is going to be decreased. Now the heat, rather than being lost over there, now you are conserving the heat. So that's what's happening over here. So that's how the muscular system is going to regulate the body temperature. Shivering, also caused by involuntary muscle contraction, right? So shivering, involuntary skeletal muscle contractions, and when you shiver, what happens? Skeletal muscle contracts, requires ATP. Using ATP will now generate your heat. That's why when you are when it's really, really cold and you're shivering, your muscle is actually contracting. And when the muscle contracts, ATP is broken down, releasing the heat, helping to warm our body up. Okay? Goosebumps is another example over here. In cold temperatures, the erector pili muscle will contract, causing the hair to stand up. Okay? Not very helpful in keeping humans warm, but quite effective in other animals. So goosebumps, not so much for us to keep us warm, but very effective to other animals. That ends this topic, and I will continue on with our lecture in the next chapter or next topic.